Hello and welcome to the Car Care channel, and welcome to a very interesting video of a very uninteresting car initially. So you look at this car and the first impression is it's a second generation Prius, 2009 Prius. It's white, and initially when you look around it is a very un-Car Care shape. Let's skip past the bugs. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's take a walk around this car. First thing you notice is there are shadows of decals, and the body, for lack of a better word, is in terrible shape. I mean, this thing has been hit everywhere. For lack of a better word, it's been hit everywhere. But bear with me, because there is actually a few surprises with this car that will kind of teach you not to judge a book by its cover. This car was a previous San Francisco Transit Authority something or another, basically a government car. Usually in the Midwest, a government car is in Crown Vic or some Ford Fusion or whatever the case may be. But apparently in California, they like to do the green thing, so a Prius would be that car. The owner of this car is someone who I would call a Prius veteran. He's owned many of these. He knows them inside and out. Very handy DIY, and he can mend them. And the owner of this car lives in California, and the owner of this car drove this car all the way from California only weeks after buying it from the auction. And why you ask that? He's going to Pennsylvania on his way. He stopped by here. He's going to visit some family. And he actually bought this car for a family member who is youngster, and he used his Prius experience to buy this. And he was able to catch a diamond in the rough, because when you see this on an auction block, people will look at it and it's like, yep, government car. This thing has been beaten, it's destroyed, and it is destroyed when you look around. So let's walk around and let's see how is it destroyed. The first thing is there's decals and scratches everywhere. I mean, the camera doesn't do it justice. It is in really rough shape. This fender, dented, there's scratches here, and our viewers in California, there is some rust here. To us, this is nothing. I mean, as you'll see underneath this thing, it's basically rust-free. And you can tell the lack of care when you open the doors. You know, most car care nuts will be careful to open here, not scratch the inside, but whoever drove this thing just, it almost like purposefully scratch every time you open the door. And that's fine. This door has been hit. This car has been hit multiple times. Door is not sitting right. It touches there. Gap is huge here. Then we go here. Old decals. And again, the scratches in the back. Bumper has been hit. I mean, the body is not in great shape. And you look here, just drabby city car. Scratches all over the place. You walk on this side. Oh, maybe this side is better. It's actually worse. There is a very government employee care level of the attention to detail of this car, because there's a giant scratch here, another sticker here, scratches all over the place. And these are the kind of scratches that not typical older car. This is not very old. It's 2009. The scratches you see here is people getting in and out of this car absolutely not caring. They have keys, they have stuff, they just scratch it and get in. It's not their car. Nobody cares when it's a government car, and it shows. Again, you have what in California they call rust spot. In Illinois, this is not really a rust. But then we get to the biggest thing. The tire blew out on this at some point, ripped out the fender liner, and this is not kind of drove in over tar. This is actually rubber from the tire that got imprinted into the paint. And the owner is trying to get it off, trying to get it looking a little better. Not going to happen. Then we come to the front, of course, the bug display, because he literally just drove this from California to Illinois. Southwest suburbs. We're in Homer Glen, Illinois, our shop. And he literally just drove it straight from California. Quite a drive. I wouldn't probably do that drive, especially in a car I just bought from the auction. But he has an eye for Priuses, because let's take a look at the interior. Now, initially, you look at this car, it doesn't look too terrible. Yes, it's missing a seat, but there's a story for the seat. So when he bought this car, the interior, for lack of a better word, was disgusting. And not very government-like disgusting. So he literally ripped out the entire interior, got a newer carpet, not a new carpet, newer seat, pick and pull, and he put it in, tried to get rid of the smell, and it worked. Doesn't smell too bad. It smells like industrial car, typical government car, but not terrible. But then again, you notice the lack of care. This is ripped, the seals are gone, and this is just how government cars are. Nobody cares, you just get in and out of it. You could tell cars are beaten. But see, when you see all this, it's like, man, this car is just ready for its grave. It's done. There's holes on the roof that are sealed with glue. Of course, they had some kind of thing on the top. Then we look under the hood. The hood, which doesn't sit right, the gaps are not right and everything. And here's where things start to take a turn. The engine bay is clean. There is something about government cars that you might want to know about. They're usually not taken care of, abused in most cases, really overused. This car probably has never been in a highway in its life, always driving around city. It has around 170,000 miles, but it's true 170,000 miles. But there's something about the governments, especially places like San Francisco. I am not a politician. I don't know what their budget is and how they're doing, but governments typically are run by employees. And the beautiful thing about employees is when they have a car that needs repair, they will not be saying, wait, should we total this car or should we? No, they're just like, when can we get it back and where do I sign? This is the case with this car. See, when a car is beaten like this, it's going to break down. It's going to break down a lot. And the government just keeps dumping money on it. They don't care. They're employees. They're just signing a check. When can I get this car back so our operations won't stop? So this car has a brand new transmission, only 50,000 miles ago. That is a massive investment in this car. And as we look through the entire car, it actually has a lot of new stuff. The engine does have a noise, which the owner was concerned about as he was driving from California. It's like, is this engine going to blow up? Actually turned out to be just a noisy water pump. Otherwise, it runs fine. Drives smooth, doesn't make noises, drives straight. And anybody that looks at this in the auction will be like, I will not even take this car if it was for free. And because of that, the owner of this car, even in the current crazy car market, got it for a steal. Catalytic converters on these are super expensive, just to take it and sell it as a part. Hence the thefts and all that. This has the original catalytic converter that's never been stolen. Just between the catalytic converter and the 50,000 mile transmission, he will double his money on this car. But he didn't judge a book by its cover. He actually looked past the ugliness on the outside and the inside and saw what really matters. You can clean up the inside, you can clean up the body, but if the mechanicals are gone, what's the point? Let's put this car on the lift, let's look underneath it, because for me, it is always a treat to look at a California car where there is no rust. Must be nice to work on cars in California, because I tell you, 2009 Prius in Illinois, the rust is rampant. Sometimes they're not even safe to lift. Let's put it on the lift, let's look underneath it. Let's look underneath it, because basically what we're going to do is an inspection and see what does this car that has been completely abused in its life actually need mechanical wise. First of all, this is hardly the issue. This is typical, somebody hit it. I'm going to consider this body work, so let's move past that. Let's go to the rest of the stuff. The first thing you notice is the newer transmission. This transmission only has 50,000 miles. And it took the owner very little research to actually find that out before they bid. And this is a big deal. This is actually becoming a common problem with these, with vibration, with codes, all kinds of issues. This has a new transmission, or newer transmission. And no, this was not a junkyard transmission. This was actually a Toyota brand new transmission. That's a huge expense. Then we move to the engine. I mean, I don't really see oil leaks. Nothing. I see nothing. There is a very small smidge, maybe I wouldn't even call this an oil leak. There's actually no oil leaks at all. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The only real leak that we have is not really from engine transmission. We have an axle boot that is leaking. It's right here. You see it slinging a little bit of grease. It's not even excessive. I mean, remember, this drove from California right now, and that's all the grease we have. Hardly the big issue. But the biggest thing is, here's what usually happens with these Priuses. The front bearings are gone. Both these bearings are fine. They have no play whatsoever. Nothing here. Nothing here. No rust. Usually the struts rot out and rust completely. If Eros comes around and shows this strut, and this is the original strut of this car, which looks probably better than my 2022 Camry strut that has lived its life in one winter here already in Illinois. And same thing with the other strut. Original strut, not leaking, doesn't have issues. Again, this is the beauty of rust-free cars. Just nothing. The one thing I noticed in the drive that perhaps the owner didn't notice is this mount right here. Remember, California cars, there's heat, and heat destroys rubber. If you look at this, if you come from this angle and look at this mount, it's actually torn. Might be hard to see on camera. I'm trying to get the bugs off. There's actually a complete tear right here. And every time you accelerate and let go, it kind of, the whole thing shake, the engine and trans just shake, because this is supporting the bottom so it wouldn't twist sideways. This is kind of a dog bone mount on some models. This is what that is. But then we walk back and there is a cat shield. And apparently it's been working, although they managed to hit it. But it's working because the original catalytic converter is here. Just that, and the transmission is worth more than what he paid for this car. And this is the incredible part. A friend of mine has a 2009 Prius, and he have taken care of it from day one. He's the original owner. I recently had to give him the bad news to move on from this car because this entire section is completely rotten. You can't even lift the car. Look at this one. Nothing. And then we move further back in this car. And this is where, to me, the rust-free cars are truly worth it, because you can fix all the dried up rubber and all that stuff. But if we kind of focus right here on the charcoal canister area, and we look at this very specific bolt, I really hope you can see it well on camera. This bolt still has color, and I still see the remnants of the thread lock on the threads. It's blue. I see the remnants of it. And this is incredible. This car has not seen a drop of rust. Nothing. The other thing is the shocks have been replaced. These are OEM springs, which in Illinois, this is a rare sight because these love to break from rust. But here they are, original, but the shock has been replaced with a KYB. Just the shock, but the spring is original. Same thing on the other side. And this is just incredible, the condition this car is in. I mean, you look at the exhaust, absolutely nothing. Bolts still have color. Everything is in great shape. And it's a surprise. You drive this car, it's quiet, it drives straight, doesn't make noises, over bumps, very smooth, very soft. Yet you look at it from the outside, it looks like it went through a riot. Just look at it. Look at this. And he just washed this car. The owner, the current owner, is a car care nut. He washed this, he just washed this car, and this is how it looks after a car wash. It has been through a riot, basically. But that's what people see. That's how you judge a book by its cover. But for me, I look underneath it, and underneath it tells me a completely different story. I mean, at this point, even if the engine blows up completely, you put a used engine here in good shape, it's still worth it because the car is in good shape. But the biggest thing about this car is a hybrid battery. I don't think we couldn't find anything in the history, but I don't think this is an original hybrid battery. It just by looking at a few signs, this battery's been removed, and it's a Toyota battery. So I wouldn't be surprised if this hybrid battery also was replaced at some point. And just by driving it, usually these Priuses, when the batteries get old and they're just not doing well, you're always driving at 2 bars of charge. This one, no, it drives just like my 22 Camry with the charge level of the battery. And that's usually your telltale sign. Folks, never judge a book by its cover. I see so many people make this mistake. They look at a car, they're always looking at the paint, they're staring at the interior, making sure the previous owner really took care of this car. And when they see a shiny, beautiful car that looks brand new, they buy it on the spot. This is a beautiful car, it's been taken care of. You know what? You might want to research detailing on cars. There are a lot of magicians. I call them magicians because they turn an ugly car into something of a beauty, yet it's still a horrible car. You always look underneath it. You need to get the full story. And this is why pre-purchase inspections is a good idea. Because unless you have the car up on the lift and you're looking at it with a microscope, you're really not going to get the whole story. Looking at the body, there's shining, and the interior, there's clean, it smells like new, means nothing. You got to look underneath these cars. You got to understand the history. When you see this car, that basically whatever broke down mechanically, oh yeah, fix it. This transmission was probably $6,000 to $8,000. Depends on the time or when they did this, how were the prices at that time. At that time, even if this was done 2-3 years ago, that's worth more when this car is worth in full retail, good condition. That's how you look at cars. Don't be bogged down by the pretty stuff. Look at what matters. All this, you can get this car painted. You can get this car corrected, looking better. Or guess what? You can leave it and you still have a great A to B car that'll take you everywhere, that'll run forever because mechanically it was actually taken care of. It's just cosmetically it was not. And since we are a car care nut family and we do things like a family, this car needs a water pump. That's what's rattling away and that's what's concerning to the owner. There is another viewer, and for respect of their privacy, because I didn't contact them in time to get this, we're going to keep their name away, but there is a viewer that sent me a few parts in mail that they didn't need for their Yaris, that the car got in an accident. Unfortunately, they had these parts laying around brand new, and he sent them to me. He told me, put them to good use. Someone else. This, if you are that viewer that sent me this stuff, I still have them. Thank you so much for that generous donation. This is actually a brand new water pump, Toyota original, that I double-checked the part number is actually the same as this Prius. So, since we are a car care nut family, I'm going to give this water pump to Jason because he's really a stand-up guy, super nice guy who drove all the way from California here to show us this car, to tell us about this story. So, huge shout out to Jason and huge shout out to the anonymous, let's say anonymous for now. If you want to be known, just please comment and we'll pin it so everybody knows who donated this water pump. And guys, let's wish Jason safe travels because he comes from very far away. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. And until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you. And you have yourself a wonderful day.